You are listening to the Estheticians Earning More podcast with Brittany Hageman, episode number 162. Welcome to the Estheticians Earning More podcast. On this podcast, we talk about how to love your esthetician business without the hustle, exhaustion, or overwhelm as it booms into a successful business. I teach simple ways how to approach your business that gives you your life back while still growing a profitable business. I grew BLH Beauty in San Diego to a six-figure business, and I learned a lot along the way, which I'm excited to share with you here. So let's get started. Do you want to make $100,000 revenue in your esthetician business? If so, I would love to show you how. I'm going to invite you to coach with me in my one-to-one coaching program. It's completely customizable. The way that it works is we sit down and figure out what you've been doing in your business that hasn't been working, and then make a very specific plan that I help you follow over the course of 6 months to get it done. We meet weekly for 30 minutes and discuss exactly what went well that week and we're going to do next week, whether it's your pricing needs to be raised, or you need to have boundaries with your clients, or if you need to learn how to sell skincare, or you need to niche down and you're doing way too many services and not making money, or all of the above. Whatever the issue is, whatever the reason is you're not making money, we'll figure it out together and we will grow your business into a really profitable business that's sustainable, that you love, and that really helps people. I cannot wait to be your coach and to work with you. To learn more, go to the link in the show notes. And with that, on with today's episode. Hello, happy Monday. Welcome back. I'm really excited to be back here talking to you today. I want to talk about something that my clients have been experiencing, that I have been working with them on, something that I personally have experienced this week that is an essential part of owning and growing a business. And that is being really uncomfortable and embracing being uncomfortable or discomfort. I think back to even when I first decided to become an esthetician, which when I shared on this podcast, and I was at lunch with one of my friends, and he was a hairstylist, and we were talking about how I was gonna, quit my job and go to esthetician school and all the things I was doing. And the waitress who was serving us, who was over, eavesdropping on our conversation, overhearing, she was standing there, it wasn't like whatever. She basically said to me, good luck. There are hundreds of estheticians in San Diego. There's no jobs. You make nothing. It's like good luck. Essentially, it wasn't a great, good for you, right? Which, is not the best thing to hear when you have decided to quit your full-time, highly paying job to go and do a completely career change. And it was so great that that friend was the friend that I was sitting with, because she was like, do not listen to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I can think about different times being an esthetician, growing my business, growing this esthetician coaching business that has been incredibly uncomfortable for me. One of the things that comes to mind is when I started learning how to talk on stories. There wasn't reels when I started as an esthetician business owner, but there were stories. That was like a new big thing. And I was so uncomfortable. I shared this before on this podcast. I used to just talk about makeup as opposed to skincare because I felt that people had stronger reactions about skincare, had stronger opinions, and would get more upset easier if I said something that they didn't agree with, versus makeup is much more, subjective. People it's kind of a more fun topic to talk about. There's not as much emotion that people have to carry with skincare. So I was so nervous to talk about acne and skin on stories that I would just talk about makeup. If you go to my BLH Beauty Instagram, you go all the way back in my save stories, you will see a series on lipstick and eyeshadow and all these things. And you will see my very awkward self, barely breathing, talking on stories. And because I did that consistently, and I had 3 people that would see my stories. I had a very supportive friend that I used to work with at Target that used to watch. It was very encouraging. I had like a colleague that I had met, like an acquaintance I had met who also was very encouraging, that like I had known when I lived in Sacramento. And I think like a random person that I didn't know. And I would, do these stories and no one watched them. I didn't get any business from them. I was very uncomfortable the entire time. I noticed when I would watch them back that my lower teeth are crooked, which I didn't notice because I don't normally see myself talking. And I'm like, oh, I should be wearing my retainers, since that would bother me so much every time I would see these stories. And so then I made a rule, I just wouldn't watch them back. And this is before captions, and I would be like, I would just record it and send it. So I wouldn't even have to look at it again, because I knew I just needed to practice being uncomfortable, even if I wasn't getting any results from those stories. Same thing when I started posting regularly. I would be posting information. I was learning how to market, and crickets, right? I'd be posting, putting myself out there, and nothing would happen. I would talk to people about my business all the time, and those did not turn into instant bookings. So I consistently was putting myself out there and growing my abilities, growing my confidence in things. And it was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. So this is like 2017, 2018. In 2019, I really had this overwhelming desire, this like, it felt like a calling, for lack of being dramatic. Sorry if that's really dramatic, to help women, particularly women, but I know obviously there's men estheticians, make more money in their esthetician business, because I could see it from my peers. I saw my esthetician friends that were making a lot of money, and my esthetician peers that I would see in my salon studio that were hustling, doing services after services, working so hard, and like not making any money. And I really wanted to change and elevate the industry and teach people what I had learned. And I decided I wanted to create this business. I initially called it Esthetician Empowerment, because I wanted to empower estheticians. So I had my brand new Instagram account. I started doing videos on it, like IGTV. That's when IGTV was a thing. And if you could go back on my Instagram account all the way back and see all those videos. And I was much more confident on camera by this point. I had been doing it for a few years on Village Beauty. I was feeling really good and confident, but my views were low. I didn't have a big following. I didn't have hundreds of thousands of people watching my videos. And I remember being like, this again. I have to be like really uncomfortable again, putting content out again, and nobody is responding. I mean, I definitely had some wonderful esthetician friends that would respond and were very supportive, which was wonderful. But for the most part, I wasn't getting in front of new audience. I wasn't meeting new estheticians. It was my friends that I had already made in the industry that were being very supportive, but I wasn't really growing beyond that. And then I finally had the time and energy for this podcast and started recording this podcast. And again, I've said this before, I had no listeners, like literally maybe 10 listeners for the first 8-9 months of the podcast. And I kept putting episodes out, and I'd look at my stats of listeners, and it was like 10 listeners, and then it eventually grew. People started talking about it more and sharing it, and it was growing. But it didn't grow because I put a couple podcast episodes out, and one happened to go viral, and then it was just like easy. It was months of putting content out and getting no clients from it, no bookings, no one following me, like the same wonderful, committed, who you are people that were listening every week, and nobody else. And each of these stages in my business is incredibly uncomfortable. Like you feel like you are putting your heart out on the line and burying your soul, and no one cares and no one wants it. And it's so hard to keep going. It's so hard to keep putting out the content, keep talking about your business. It's
it's really hard, but that is the part that where people usually give up. And I've been talking about this a lot on the podcast lately because I've been seeing it so much with my clients and also just people online. But that being okay with being uncomfortable every single day in your business is what makes the difference between people who have not made any money in their business or have been working really hard for the money they've made and just feel like they cannot keep their head above water. That's the difference between that person and the person who's making $10,000, $15,000 a month in their business, taking home a lot of that money, not feeling overworked, having lots of new clients coming consistently, doing really well in their business. That is the difference. The person who is in that spot, I got one of my clients I was just sharing on stories yesterday that is actually Olivia. I know she won't mind me sharing. She's on this podcast already, but from 2022, August 2022 to August 2023, her business did $58,000. And when she hired me in October 2023, her goal was from that, I think she started her business in August 2022. She wanted to do $100,000 from August 2023 to August 2024. That was like one of her big goals. So I actually spoke to her yesterday. I was like, how's it going? Are you close to 100,000? I figured she was based on her numbers. And she looked, and we haven't even had August yet, 2024, and she's already surpassed $110,000. So she's for sure hit her goal and almost doubled what she did her first year in business and her second year in business. And she did not do that by being comfortable. She was actually uncomfortable the entire time. She was uncomfortable when if you listen to the podcast with her, when she was telling everyone about her business and asking people to come in and get services. She was uncomfortable when I challenged her to develop an acne, anti-aging, scarring program, the programs that she developed. And when she brought on ProCell and all the things that I was challenging her to do there, she was not like, it was not just like easy breezy. She wasn't just like, this is so great. It was really, really challenging for her, but she pushed through the discomfort. I have another client who you're going to hear from in a few weeks. Same thing. She's so uncomfortable. Every time I talked to her, she would just be like, this is so hard. But she was still doing it. It wasn't, this is so hard and I don't want to do it. And like, do I have to really do this? It was, this is so hard and I'm just doing it no matter what. Like, even though I'm not getting responses, even though I'm doing this and this is what the result is, I'm going to keep doing it. And Brittany Wood, she was on a few episodes ago as well. She talked about her discomfort when she was building her business and how really that is the name of the game. And I think what is hard, because I know I've experienced this because I've now had 2 businesses, when you see people who seem to be like rocking and rolling, you don't know what they went through to get there. You just see the end result. And you see, and you're like, it just seems so easy for them. They are so good at it. They're so good at being on stories. They're so good at making reels. They're so good at talking about their business. They're so good at networking. They're so good at all of these things. And you start to pick yourself apart from them. Like, well, they're just really outgoing and I'm shy, which is totally untrue. Some of my esthetician friends who've done it so well are not outgoing people. My friend Megan Wade, who was on the podcast a while ago, she's a sugarista in Indiana, and she is like an introvert, like introvert. And she is absolutely killing it in her business and has been for a few years now. And she went from literally not being able to pay her rent to doing that. And so what happens is we start to compare ourselves to people. And that's one of the reasons I actually don't pay attention a lot to people that are other esthetician coaches. I pay attention to other coaches and learning about trends and things that are important to, be educated on and things like that. But my actual competitors, I don't pay attention to because I don't want to look at them and think, oh, I should be there and I'm not there. That means I'm not that great. The comparing ourselves to people can often create more drama in our head than inspiration. Because you're like, why can't I do that? They did that. And as opposed to asking yourself the question, why can't I do that? I think the better question to ask yourself is, how much more discomfort am I willing to have? Do I want to stay comfortable and have the business that I have? Whether you're making $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's all relative. Do you want to stay there and just be comfortable, which is totally okay? Or do you want to go further in your business and make more money, help more people, and push yourself to do things and believe things that you don't currently believe? One of the things that I work on a lot with my clients is their belief systems and their mindset. It's a big part of what I do in my coaching. And I challenge my clients on their beliefs all the time. Because 9 times out of 10, it's their belief that is holding them back, not actually the action themselves. Because if they believe the action that they took will work eventually, you truly believed it, you would be doing it. That's why I was doing those videos on Instagram. Even though I had a very small audience, I knew that kind of stuff helps people start to understand you, understand what you do. You're helping people, you're giving free advice, all of these things, you're giving lots of value. People like that. That is a wonderful marketing tool. That's what this podcast is about, right? Educating, giving value. But if I believe that every episode I put out there, I should have a client, I would be constantly disappointed. Because I definitely have more episodes than I do have clients. And that's okay. I don't need 160. I actually cannot accommodate 162 clients. That is not something I can accommodate. So I am great and very happy with my full roster that I have right now because I really can't accommodate anybody else at this current moment. Some clients are ending soon, so I will be able to accommodate more people. But I think that we have to take the equation out of our head, which is I talk to someone, so it should be a booking. I put a post on social media and that should be a booking. I do this and then that should equal this. Because when we continue to believe that, when it doesn't happen, which most of the time is not going to work that way, we have a lot of shame and feeling like we're failing and feeling like we're bad at this versus this is just how it is. And the work is being uncomfortable, putting things out there, putting yourself out there, talking about your business and it falling flat. And I'm putting that in quotation marks because we don't know if it's falling flat. Just because it's not an instant conversion, an instant booking, it doesn't mean it's not layering someone. It doesn't mean that someone who just followed you isn't going to see your 10 next posts and then come in. They need 10 posts from you to see the value that you're giving out. Now, if you give out 1-2 posts a week, that's like 5 to 10 weeks of slowly getting them to understand who you are, what you do, the value that you give. Versus if you do 10 posts in a week, they're going to get there a lot faster most of the time. Sometimes they still would take their time to get there because of whatever was happening in their life. But they aren't going to get from point A to point B. They're not going to get from learning about you to booking with you from one conversation usually. Or one post, one story. If you think about when you've ever bought something, whether it's a computer or something that you hadn't seen before and you were exposed to, usually you need to be exposed to it a few times. That's why advertising works, right? You need to see it. You need to see what it is. You need to see the value that it brings to your life. You see it again. You're like, I don't know. Like, have you ever online shopped and just like had a basket full of things that you didn't buy because you're like thinking about it, right? Like you're like, I got to think about this. What do I really want? Do I really want this? Is this what I want? Not to say that we all don't like buy things instantly. Of course, that does happen. But sometimes it can take many exposures for someone's brain to be like, I need that. I'm ready. But if you give up at the very beginning, you have given up on those people who are interested. You have literally given up on them. And I really, really, really want to challenge you, especially if you're slow right now, if you're in that summer slump. I want you to put the foot pedal on the gas. Is that, I don't know. I'm losing myself in a metaphor. I want you to put on the gas, push on. I want you to go. I want you to go. And if you've been posting 3 times a week, I want you to post 12 times this week, for the next 3 months. You've already been posting 12 times a week. I mean, post 24 times. I want you to go. If you have not talked to anyone about your business, I want you to talk to everyone about your business. I want you to do it. I want you to stop making excuses and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right? Because the way that you've been doing it, which is a post here, conversation here, kind of just doing it as it feels kind of manageable, I think it's an important place to start, especially if you're a new business owner. That's why I like to start my new business owners. Like, we kind of start slow, getting you comfortable, getting you used to saying the things. But once you've gotten comfortable, let's go. There's no more time to perfect it. You're going to perfect it. You're going to get better as you go. You're going to get better with your messaging. You are going to get better at understanding what sticks with people, what doesn't stick with people. But the only way is from posting. My esthetician coaching business messaging has improved tenfold every year. 2019 posts are considerably worse than 2024 posts. Like, I remember being confused about my messaging, but I still was posting. I was still engaging with estheticians. I was still trying to build relationships. I still didn't really know how I wanted to convey the value that I was giving people. It was still very hard for me, even though I had clients that were getting results. I still had a hard time bridging those gaps in my brain. It took me a while. It took me a lot of trial and error till I started to be like, oh, this is the marketing that makes sense. But I didn't learn that from watching other estheticians, coaches, or business consultants work. I didn't learn that by just not posting or not doing or podcasts or not going on other people's podcasts and Facebook groups and things like that. So you can't use the excuses that you don't know. That is not an excuse. The excuse is you haven't figured it out yet. The only way you can figure it out is by doing. My clients, when they do things, I give them lots of feedback. Like, I like this, don't forget to do that, But I can't give people feedback if they're not posting. Which I'll tell them all the time. Like, I'm watching your posts to give you feedback, to help you. But you can learn it all on your own as well. But you have to do the work to get to that place. I want to end with this. And this is an important part of this. Is sometimes you'll put yourself out there and it is not well received. Whether it's a post on Instagram, conversation, whatever. And I want you to remind you that although that can be really uncomfortable and 9 times out of 10 highly unfair to you, like some random person on the internet posts something on one of your posts that's mean, it's uncalled for, it's unprofessional, whatever. The ability to brush yourself off and keep going and being okay with that bad review you got. Let's say someone crazy person wrote you a bad review. What the heck? Where did this come from, right? This happens sometimes to people. I want you to think about all the people who, if you stopped because of a bad Instagram troll or bad Google review or whatever, that you wouldn't be helping if you stopped because you let those crazy negative people change the way you believed about yourself and what you do. I want you to think about the people who you've already impacted, the people you will continue to impact. Dude, if you gotta do like hair removal brings so much confidence to people. You don't have to do acne to be meaningful to people's lives. I just also want to make sure that's clear if you're not an acne specialist listening to this. You don't have to do scar removal. You can do any of the esthetician services and still be really impactful to people's lives. Like, I love my lashes because I don't have to, I love it being done every day. And I don't have to think about it. It just is. I just brush them and wash them. But I don't have to like put mascara on, take mascara off, like all of it. It is such, I just love it. It makes my life so much easier. So I mean, think about like if you stopped giving lashes because some random person who's crazy because they don't like the way you did lashes, but everybody else really loves their lashes. Don't let that person stop you. Because think about all the people who would be so sad if you stopped. The people who haven't even met yet. Okay? I want you just to think with that. I want you to embrace discomfort this week. I want you to post. I want you to get out there. I want you talking to people. And if you need help with overcoming the mindset around these things, you know where I am. Link in the bio. Have a fantastic week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Hey, if you like this podcast, please rate and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. I cannot tell you how much that helps my podcast grow. So you can click 5 stars if you like it and you want to give me 5 stars. And please leave a review about telling me why you like it so that I can help other estheticians grow their business. Thank you so much.